Tonight here, the scope of the loss is simply staggering. The desperate search for the missing. You can see the Guadalupe River right here behind me. The rain came down so fast, so quickly here in the early morning hours of the 4th of July that the river rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes. The beautiful hill country of Texas underwater. This home I'm standing next to tonight, the wife inside telling me the rising waters reaching her neck very quickly, and she and her husband had no choice but to step out their front door and right into the current of the river that was at their home. How they survived this, you'll hear their story in a moment. Homes washed away here, RVs floating down the river, and of course the heartbreak at Camp Mystic for girls. Tonight, my interview with the Coast Guard rescue swimmer who saved so many children there, and what he said they told him. And as we come on tonight, more than 100 people are now confirmed dead here. Dozens of them are children. The river rising quickly in the dark as the rain fell, the boat rescues that began in those early morning hours. By daylight, other rivers flooding as well. This time-lapse video showing floodwaters rushing in, flooding a causeway in under 10 minutes. This home washed away in Center Point, Texas, floating down the Guadalupe River and right into a bridge there. The Coast Guard lifting dozens to safety in helicopters overhead. This young woman swept miles away from her family's campsite, rescued after clinging to a tree for hours. Tonight, she's in the hospital. We're told she will survive this, but she's also been told 5 other members of her family are still missing. And tonight here, what's left now of Camp Mystic. Some 750 girls were there as the emergency unfolded. After the cabins filled with water and mud, bunk beds destroyed, pink sleeping bags and treasured stuffed animals, all that's left. The camp tonight saying 27 campers and a counselor have died. And tonight here, we're now seeing some of the first faces of those who did not survive this. There is a massive response here in the flood zone tonight, among them that 26-year-old Coast Guard rescue swimmer on his first rescue mission, telling me what he saw when he landed at Camp Mystic. The bravery here in the hill country. Tonight, it is difficult to put into words the scope of the loss across the hill country here in Texas. Here in Kerr County and beyond, so many communities dealing with unimaginable loss. So many of them children, the little girls sleeping at camp. So many lives stolen in one of the deadliest U.S. floods in decades.
Look out, guys!
With more rain in the forecast tonight, searchers have not given up. It was the 4th of July, and families in 6 counties, many of them camping along the Guadalupe River, gathering along the waterfront, a summer tradition. They had just gone to bed, only to wake up hours later before the sun came up because of flash floods, suddenly swallowing up family campgrounds, homes, and sleepaway camps. The river rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes. In some places, 4 months worth of rain in just one night. The force of the floodwaters carrying homes away. This one even crashing into a tree. Bridges severely damaged, trees snapped in half, many toppled, homes left in the middle of the road. This time-lapse video showing just how quickly the floodwaters took over these communities. In just 10 minutes, they were surrounded by water and a deadly current. Much of central Texas and the hill country was under a flood watch going into the holiday. And just after midnight, the Weather Service had issued a forecast that showed extreme rainfall was possible. By 1 a.m., the Weather Service said a very dangerous flash flood event was unfolding in Kerr County. Around 4 a.m., a warning of a particularly dangerous situation for Kerr County. But authorities say that rare alert came when most were asleep. The Guadalupe River right next to Camp Mystic, the century-old all-girls Christian summer camp, where cabins were soon filling with water. The torrent of water, the river overflowing its banks, and soon much of the campground surrounded. Camp counselors sharing videos of young campers just one day before playing. Less than 24 hours later, the horror for the young children there. Some 750 campers, the girls' cabins just a few hundred feet from the river. The younger campers sleeping in the low-lying area when the floods hit in the middle of the night. The images from inside show the destruction. Their cabins, their bunk beds torn apart, their belongings scattered, much of it now gone. And tonight, authorities at Camp Mystic with the heart-wrenching news. They now say at least 27 girls and staff were killed, including a young counselor. They say 10 young campers are still missing. And tonight, this heartbreaking image, a camp t-shirt in the aftermath. And tonight here, a moment of strength from the children. A camp nurse, Devin Williams, sharing images of the surviving campers on a bus to a reunification center where they all began to sing together as they drove through their now unrecognizable camp.
Probably the most dangerous.
Tonight, Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin telling me what he witnessed when the helicopter landed at Camp Mystic. He had just completed a swiftwater rescue course just 2 months ago. The crew decided Scott would stay on the ground with the children. It would allow them to get more of the children out. If you stayed on scene, it would give them a little more space in the helicopter.
Yeah, we assumed that, based on weight, we could probably take 2 more kids every trip.
So they got to work. He told me the children were still in their pajamas, some wearing just one shoe, still soaked and covered in mud from the rising waters. He told me who those children, some just 7 and 8 years old, were asking about.
Primarily just asking about their friends. They wanted to see if I knew anything about their friends, show me pictures, do whatever they could to try to find their friends. And I just told them, I was like, hey guys, I don't know where they are. We have every crew we can possibly imagine.
He told me about the little girls he swept into his arms. At one point, you were carrying 2 girls in one arm.
Yeah, it was 1 in each arm. But yeah, it was just 2 little kids, 7 years old, didn't have shoes on. I was like, dude, I'm not going to make you guys walk through this mud while you're trying to get to a helicopter.
And tonight here, we are learning about the young lives lost and the brave camp counselors who tried to save them. 8-year-old twins Hannah Lawrence on the left and Rebecca Lawrence on the right. They were attending Camp Mystic with their older sister, 14-year-old Harper, who survived. Tonight, their grandfather saying Hannah and Rebecca gave their whole family so much joy. They and that joy can never be forgotten. Chloe Childress was returning to Camp Mystic as a counselor there and had recently graduated from the Kincaid School. Her school sharing Chloe made space for others to feel safe, valued, and brave. She understood what it meant to be a part of a community, and more than that, she helped build one. She was set to begin her freshman year at the University of Texas at Austin this fall. Dick Eastland was the beloved longtime director at Camp Mystic, who died trying to save the lives of his campers. Tonight, his grandson George calling him a mentor to thousands of young women, saying, although I am devastated, I can't say I'm surprised that you sacrificed your life with the hopes of someone else's being saved. Former counselor Ryan Robinson paying tribute to that longtime camp director.
He made sure that I always felt comfortable and felt at home at Mystic. He was just an extremely selfless person, and he showed that until the very end.
Tonight, we are learning about the incredible stories of survival. Nearly 1,000 rescued since the 4th of July. The San Angelo Police Department airlifting families to safety after water levels rose above their homes. Using boats to scour stadium-sized debris fields for the stranded. Using helicopters to reach people clinging to trees. Tonight, the remarkable scene. Neighbors and local authorities helping to rescue a woman in rapidly rising floodwaters. A chain of people pulling a rope to get her to safety. Scott and Juliet Weldon were in their home asleep, waking to the noise. But they had no idea it was the river now at their door. When they saw the water, Juliet put on her husband's life vest. Their motorcycles outside, their Jeep floating away. Look at this here, the water line.
That's where the water, see that?
That's where the water was, which explains why you're floating in your own home.
Yeah.
She opened up the front door, but told me it took her 3 tries to step into that water, the current sweeping her away. So you stepped out the front door and the water just takes you?
Oh yeah.
Boom, just like that.
I was like, as I said, I was just calm and said, okay, it's got to go. So I saw this little opening from my neighbor's roof. I said, I can get on the thing.
And I was swimming, trying to catch up with her.
Pretty remarkable that you're standing here.
After that, then that's when I said, oh my God. And then seeing all this, it's just it breaks my heart.
Scott told me he swam after her. They tried to grab onto trees, onto neighbors' homes, but the current was too strong. Suddenly, they were both pushed into this tall hedgerow by force. You're holding the tree, and he's holding you.
Yeah, he's holding me.
Scott told me he was not going to let her out of his grasp. He wasn't going to let go.
No.
No, hell no.
35 years and counting.
So many families facing the same harrowing fight. The waters suddenly sweeping them from their homes, from their cabins, sometimes for miles. Tonight, a family of 6 swept away. 5 are still missing. One family member found alive clinging to a tree more than 15 miles from where they were swept away. Devin Smith, 22 years old, they believe she passed through 3 dams. She witnessed RVs being carried down the river beside her. Carl Jeter spotting her from inside his home and calling first responders.
Help!
Tonight, that survivor's uncle, Travis Reynolds, meeting the homeowner who spotted her in the tree, hugging him, thanking him, grateful.
It means a lot.
Carl showing us the tree she held onto for 6 hours. And this evening, her uncle Travis telling us she is in the hospital, but will be okay. But she also knows 5 members of her family are still missing.
And that family stepped in to make sure that she was safe.
And tonight here, the loved ones who did not survive. Dr. Catherine Eads died after her RV was swept up. She was camping with her husband Brian, and they were separated by the flood. He survived, but he could not find her. Her family sharing she was a psychologist and college professor, calling her an incredible wife, daughter, mother, grandmother, and a person who spent her life helping kids. 27-year-old Julian Ryan and his family waking up to floodwaters in their home in Ingram. Within moments, the water to their waists. Along with his mother and fiancée Christina, Julian working quickly to save their young sons, smashing through the window with his hand, sustaining severe injuries as he tried to help his family escape. He lost so much blood, he knew. His last words to his fiancée Christina, "I love you, I'm so sorry." Tonight, his sister wants us to know that Julian died a hero. Jane Ragsdale was the beloved director of the Heart of the Hills Camp for Girls. Tonight, the camp saying Jane embodied the spirit of the camp and was exactly the type of strong, joyful woman that the camp aimed to develop. And tonight, that Coast Guard rescue swimmer who told me he will never forget those young faces, the children he helped save, and their bravery.
Brand new rescue swimmer in the last year. But again, any of the rescue swimmers would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm sure those parents thank you too.
yeah, I'm glad their kids were tough. So, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for what
guys.
you did.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. We told him so many of those parents must be grateful to him and all of the first responders. They have been just incredible here in Texas.